Hello, my name is Renee Sands for the History Channel. Today I will be taking you on a magnificent journey back to the Renaissance in Florence, Italy to explore the life and works of Donatello, a famous artist and contributor to the success of the Renaissance. Donatello was born in the year 1386.
Hey! I thought I heard my name. Hello, I'm Donatello. I've been practicing my American accent, and so I will speak with it instead of my Italian accent, so that you can understand me better.
Oh my gosh. Wow, I can't believe you're here. How did you just come back to life like that?
To tell you the truth, I honestly have no idea.
Well, since you're here, why don't you and I go sit down and you can tell me about your boyhood instead of me talking?
Okay. So I was born Donato di Niccolo di Beto Bardi in Florence, Italy. But my friends and family gave me the nickname Donatello because my real name is just a pain to say. My dad, Niccolo, was a member of the Florence Wool Chambers Guild, so I was immediately put into a trade business.
Did you get any kind of schooling?
Yes, this wonderful family of bankers and art patrons named the Martellas provided me with an education. Actually, I'm pretty sure that this is where I first got my artistic training from, one of the local goldsmiths there.
Did your work with the goldsmith lead you to anything special?
It did. In 1403, I was apprenticed for Lorenzo Ghiberti. He was a sculptor and a metalsmith in Florence. And one time, when he was making these beautiful bronze doors for the baptistry of the Florence Cathedral, he let me assist. And I remember that being one of the greatest moments for me in the beginning of my career as an artist.
Wow, that sounds like it must have been very exciting for you.
It was.
So, was this where you got your inspiration from?
Not exactly. I would say that's more of my beginnings. My inspiration probably came from the trip I took around Rome to study classical art.
Could you go into greater detail, please?
Of course. In around 1407, I became friends with Brunelleschi. He was an amazing architect of my time, and we decided to go to Rome to look at the ruins of the classical Rome. And I must say, at that time, excavating the ruins gave me an understanding of ornamentation and classical forms which, as you probably know, greatly influenced 15th century Italian art.
Fascinating. So would you say that your time with Brunelleschi impacted your work?
For sure. It brought the Gothic style that is included in a lot of my pieces.
Cool. Well, why don't you stick around for a bit as I go into some detail about your works? Feel free to interject.
Sure.
Okay. Donatello was both painter and sculptor, but he became known only for his sculptures. The renowned Renaissance Italian artist stylistically used Gothic and realism, the style of representing familiar things as they actually are. He created a wide range of artwork, including the Bronze David, the first nude statue of the Renaissance, and the first unsupported standing work of bronze in the Renaissance, and Gattameletta, considered one of the best proportioned sculptures ever created. Gattameletta portrays the Renaissance warlord Erasmo da Narni on a horse. One of Donatello's earliest relief sculptures, a method in which the design stands out from the surface, is the Feast of Herod, made from bronze. The sculpture depicts the beheading of St. John the Baptist after Salome asks Herod Antipas for his head on a platter. The scene shows an executioner presenting the severed head and Herod reacting in shock. Donatello's elegant St. George and the Dragon relief is one of the first examples of central point perspective in sculpture.
St. George and the Dragon, a marvelous piece.
Would you mind telling us about the technique used in this sculpture?
Not at all. In this sculpture, I use central point perspective. Central point perspective is when all perspective lines radiate from one point in the art. This was actually my first attempt to produce a three-dimensional effect on a flat surface, and it turned out pretty nice, if I do say so myself. I later invented and perfected this technique known as sciacciato, or shadow relief, which is where the sculpture seems deep, but it's actually done on a very shallow plaque.
Wow, please tell us about your piece Magdalene Penitent.
Magdalene Penitent, a wooden sculpture by myself, sculpted from 1453 to 1455. This piece was received with astonishment for its unprecedented realism.
That's amazing.
Yes, some of my other works include Madonna and Child, St. George Tabernacle, Judith and Holofernes, sometimes I don't know where I get these names, and Virgin Child with Four Angels.
All of your artwork is so beautiful and so different from everything else from your time.
Yes, as an artist, I created many new techniques for sculpturing, such as the shallow relief, which I spoke about earlier. Additionally, I made a first bronze sculpture. It was a stepping stone for sculptors to use other materials. I also work with stone, wood, and marble. I was known for characterizing figures as individual personalities rather than types.
This is all so remarkable. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
You're welcome. I have to go, but hopefully we'll meet again. Again.
Whoa, what just happened? Well, that was unexpected. I guess since he's gone now, it's safe to talk about what critics think of his work.
The Fine Art Diner blogs. Donatello chose a young David to emphasize that David was too young to have accomplished this miracle on his own. It was the Holy Spirit inspiring him to take the challenge and slay the giant Goliath, using the shepherd boy as a passive vessel and not an active participant in Goliath's downfall. To support this, the huge sword in his hand represents the sword of truth from Revelations. David Lindsay, Earl of Crawford, believes he is one of the rare men of genius against whom no contemporary attack is recorded. He was content with little. His life was even tenured. His work, though not faultless, shows a steady and unbroken progress towards the noblest achievements of three-dimensional art. Vasari said, Donatello was sent by nature, indignant at seeing her caricatured, while Bacchi claims, having equaled the ancients and surpassed the sculptors of his own day, Donatello's name will live in the perpetual memory of mankind. Artie astutely said, Donatello brought the sculpted body back to life after its long medieval slumber, whereas earlier sculptors, prompted by Christian prudery, had drained the body of its vigor, cloaked its nakedness, and stripped it of individuality. Donatello revealed the body as a singular, organic unity. He observed the body through secular eyes and saw its beauty in casual poses, everyday manners, and subtle gestures. Neither diminished in the face of God nor apotheosized as divine platonic forms, Donatello's bodies effuse a naturally elegant poise of familiarity with their own skins. Artie continued to say, Donatello was sculpture's manifestation of the Renaissance movement. His art embodied humanist notions of freedom and individuality. The classical emphasis on personality returns in his work, for example, in the painted face of his Magdalene penitents. But Donatello tempered the tendency towards heroism in classical art with a predilection for more relaxed quotidian postures. Emerging pagan and medieval tradition, Donatello signaled a new balance between Roman arrogance and Christian humility. Artie continued his critique, saying, he was also a clever innovator. He perfected a scientific technique inspired by Brunelleschi that allowed him to depict interior scenes in a partially flattened yet still three-dimensional space. Thus, Donatello was both a bold cultural adventurer who went beyond the accepted aesthetics of his day and a scientifically rigorous inventor grappling with perspective and representation.
And with that, I think it's time we brought in a special guest, Michelangelo.
Hello, everybody.
I think it's just amazing that we have this technology that is capable of bringing people to life again.
I agree. It definitely helps historians understand what goes through the mind of an artist.
Yeah. Well, I am just so honored to have you here with us today.
The pleasure is all mine.
You really are an inspiration to artists everywhere. And while we are on the subject, I was wondering if you would consider Donatello, who came before you, to be one of your greatest inspirations.
Without a doubt, Donatello is one of the founders of modern sculpting. He definitely influenced my technique and probably really helped me create my own masterpieces.
He really was amazing, wasn't he?
Indeed, he was.
So what general things is Donatello known for?
Donatello was known for his realistic human features and stressed action in his sculptures. He is famous for his use of perspectives. Of those includes physical distortion causing a dramatic effect.
One last question. Is there anyone that you know that might have trained with Donatello when he started his artistic journey?
As a matter of fact, I studied with Bertoldo di Giovanni, an aging master of art who also taught Donatello.
Thank you so much for your time. It's truly been surreal.
Believe me, it has been for me too. I think I'm going to return to my statue before this strange recording box harms me.
Okay, well, thank you again.
Thank you.
On December 13th, 1466, at the age of 80, Donatello died of unknown causes.
Donatello was one of the first contributors to the Renaissance. Perhaps he was the most daring, for he decided to venture where no artist had gone before. He inspired many great artists that came after him with his interesting works. He is an artist that cannot be replicated in today's world. Join us next time when we go into greater detail about the life and works of Michelangelo. This has been Renee Sands for the History Channel. Thank you.
This program has been brought to you by the History Channel.